Hey everybody, this is Brad with the Daily BM. On today's episode, we're going to be welcoming Shae as my guest, and we're going to be talking about the Declaration of Masculinity. We're going to be covering various topics, even ADHD on slightly topics, but I think this is going to be a great episode. I think you all will love it. So I'll see you on the flip side. Hey, good morning, fuckers. It's another day at the Daily BM. I am Brad, and I am here running solo as far as host, but I do have my lovely friend Shae with me today. Hey, Shae, how's it going?
Hey, everybody. I'm good.
Yeah? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was all right. It was okay. How about yours?
That facial expression didn't come off that way to me, but hey, you know what? We'll dive into that a little bit. As long as it's not too personal, we won't throw out personal stuff, seriously personal stuff. But
Right.
mine was actually pretty good. I went Saturday. What did I do Saturday? Oh, Saturday I did absolutely nothing. So that was actually really great. I just worked out, went to the gym, yada yada yada. And then on Sunday I did I worked out, but I did like hiking. I went hiking, and my wife went with me at 7:00 in the morning, which was really cool.
Nice.
So she got up early. She went with me. She hiked it out. And not only did she do that, which I was super proud of, she actually went and did an ice bath with me.
What?
So, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but here's the funny part. So
How'd you like it?
Okay, so she didn't mind it, actually. You know what I mean? It helped her. I mean, I'm sure it helped her sleep and help her relax, because that's what it does for me. But the reality is she it was funny because she gets in it, after I did. I jumped right in. I'm like, da 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 da. I go about 6 minutes, into this thing, and then she gets in, and she gets right in, man, and like drops down, and she's like, doing the heavy breathing a little bit, and then she kind of calms down. She was like really good with it. So when she gets out, this is the best part of the whole thing. So she's in 2 minutes. That's it. She just wanted 2 minutes, and she's out, right? Which is fine. And she was at 55, 60 degrees. So, hey, I'll give her kudos for getting in. She looks me dead in the face and she goes, I go, man, I'm really proud of that you did this. She goes, I only did this so that way you couldn't call me a pussy.
I feel that.
I
feel that.
I absolutely lost it. I thought it was the funniest response ever. I mean, looked me dead in the eye, serious as hell, and said, I only did this so you couldn't call me a pussy. And I was just like, all right. I will not call you a pussy. No, I'm just kidding. But so yeah, it was fun. And then we went down to a park down off of State Road 39 here in Polk County. It's called Aldrin and Ford Park.
Oh yeah.
So we went down to Aldrin and Ford Park. We did a 2-mile walk around there in about 41 minutes. Because we'd already went on a long ass hike from 7 to 8:40 or something like that, 7 to 8:40. So we were out there an hour and 40 minutes doing a hike. So we covered about 16,000 steps, for the day. But yeah, so it was a good time. It was fun, and we had a really good time. And that was about it. So yeah, but it brought me into, it's kind of lead me into, after she said that, it brought me into a subject mind today. And I'm going to call this episode the Declaration of Masculinity. And there's a reason why. It's because I know that if you want to talk, first of all, tell me a little about what happened your weekend, if you don't mind sharing. Because I know we talked a little bit about it off air, but I don't know how much you want to share or how much you don't want to share.
There were some communication issues, okay. I guess I would say, this weekend. And also, there was an issue. You're talking, I'm guessing, about the breakfast issue.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we can lead into however part of the conversation. We can start from the beginning, or we can lead in halfway through. It doesn't matter. Let's just talk about it and let's get it out there.
There were a couple of issues where, man, I don't know where to start. There was just a couple of issues where communication broke down, and it seemed to kind of stop everything in its tracks. Kind of like just there was no more interacting for that, that period of time, and we couldn't really seem to figure out how to get past it. And I kind of felt really shitty about the fact that I had tried to communicate and it didn't go anywhere. And I guess that's why it was a problem for me. I'm sorry. Am I puppy
You're
Frenchie, everybody? This is Willow. And she's not liking her life at the moment. She's very clingy. She's a little baby. Yeah, so I think it's very hard sometimes for one person or the other to try to get something off their chest, especially if it's the first time they're trying to express an emotion. So for me, in this particular instance, I was trying to express that I made a phone call.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning. So how it all started was you received a phone call, correct?
No, I made a phone call.
Okay, so you made a phone call. Okay.
Someone, a child who is not a child anymore. I had a lot of kids that came up in my house that weren't mine. Like they not blood mine. So they are going to be, in quotes, adopted children that I have known since they were young, and they spent a lot of time in my house. I put a lot of energy and effort into them, and they were chosen family is what I would call them, and what they would call me. A lot of young men now who are starting to head in towards 30 that still call me mama. And there's a few that I haven't seen in a few years. And one of them showed up while I wasn't here over the weekend in the evening, when I was dropping off my granddaughter and talking with my son and at his house, and waited for me. And I didn't find that out until the next day.
Okay.
And realized that I had missed calls and missed texts on my phone and such.
Right.
And so I guess in the middle of me telling Andy about the night before, what my experiences were with my son, and him filling me in on his night, he tells me this, and to me it was urgent. Like, what? Oh, he was here, he waited for me. I haven't seen him in a while. Like, that's unusual. So I see that I have missed calls and texts, and so I make that phone call right then. I have a tendency to forget things, and that felt urgent to me. And that phone call made a problem because.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Let me interrupt you. So when you said you made the call, did you tell him, "Hey, did you stop? What, were you in the middle of something, or was you guys just sitting there on your own, just relaxing? I mean, how did that come about?
We were just sitting. I was on one couch and he was on the other. And
so you guys weren't like watching TV or watching a movie or anything like that?
No,
oh, okay.
No. It was just part of the conversation. And okay. I have ADHD, and I'm working really hard on things. I didn't know that, until I think the January before last. And I worked really hard to figure that out. It was obviously, I'm 51 years old, and I've had years upon years upon years in the medical system with mental health professionals, and trying to figure out why isn't anything, working, whatever. And then I got that diagnosis, and then started trying to figure out how to not fix, but refine my mechanisms and whatever. So a lot of the times I do feel like it is me that is the problem in any given scenario. So for him, he said that he was very upset that I had interrupted him. And that is a common problem with people with ADHD, that they impulse
Correct.
control and interrupting and stuff. So I did apologize for that, and it didn't seem to really move forward through any more. But I also asked for help, and I asked to be told when that is happening in the moment, and please notify me in the moment, and ask to be told I need to finish my thought before you start yours, and such as that. It just didn't seem to go anywhere. And when saying this negative feedback causes me to feel a shutdown, and I'm getting towards a real lack of bandwidth for apologizing for who I am, how I do things, and when and where, and feeling like I really just, I'm apologizing for being myself 24/7, even though I'm really, really trying podcast therapy, webinars, articles, doing whatever I can. The responses about just hating phone calls, and I'm not nagging on him because I'm not trashing him because he is a good person. I didn't know how to handle this situation.
Well, no, there's not. This isn't a beat up a boyfriend or girlfriend or a husband or a wife session. This is a trying to figure out the solution to an issue that you had and or that other men and women may have at the same time.
Exactly.
So that's all this is. This isn't a bashing session. So I don't want you to think that, hey, I had you on here to bash the man. I just said, hey, let's talk this through.
Right. And I think it's possible for other people like me, when you get a lot of negative feedback and when you're getting it from multiple sources, when it's not just your partner, when you feel like either also at work, also with your kids, your friends, other, not just with your significant other, you're seeing this pattern of feedback. When do you know? How do you know when it's you and when it's not you? So then sometimes you don't feel like you can defend yourself. But in this situation, I did, because I felt like I genuinely didn't agree that I had done anything that should continue on as a subject, when to me, I hadn't heard from somebody that was important in my life in a while, and they just showed up on my doorstep and chose to wait for me, and then I made a phone call, and it didn't feel like it warranted that much of upset. And then throughout the weekend, stuff continued to happen. My daughter called me, was locked out of her house, had to be at work in 30 minutes. I jump up out of the bed on Sunday morning and I leave to go and take her to work, which would have only taken me at the most maybe 20 minutes to pick her up and take her home. I leave the house, she didn't need me. I come right back. And
how far does she live from you?
She just lives right there in the Dixieland area.
So she's 15 minutes away, roughly?
Yeah, and she needed to be dropped back off on the way back to my house on Cleveland Heights. So, that, so then when pulling back up, after getting 3 seconds from my house and her calling me and telling her she figured something else out, I turn around and come back, and in my brain, I had thought I should pick up coffee. The coffee maker's broken. And then that wasn't something that I could do. And then when I pull up, he's walking up with breakfast and coffee that he went out and got, but only for himself. And that didn't seem to really, it was an fuck moment once he realized he had upset me or something, but he didn't really feel like that was a big deal. But to me, after the weekend and everything that happened, and I can't really picture going out and getting myself some.
Well, let's get back to the phone call. All right, so
both of those things all together, it just was the weirdest weekend. And
what is that clicking noise?
That is that's my dog.
Oh my God!
Fighting herself in the mirror.
Jesus. So basically on the phone call. So that's what escalated to other scenarios throughout the weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you something. So when you made the call and you saw that he was aggravated, okay? Because I'm sure he was visibly aggravated, correct or no?
And no, he just
was a statement made or anything like that after you got off the call?
After I went looking for him, he expressed that he was very hurt by me interrupting him.
Interrupting them how? Because you both were sitting. Okay, so let me back up. So you both were sitting on the couch, right? And you were doing your own things, like whether you're reading a book or you're on the iPad or whatever it might be. You were doing separate things. You weren't really having an engaging conversation, correct or no?
He was telling me about what had happened while I was gone.
Okay.
To
so
drop off my granddaughter.
So he was in mid conversation when you picked up the phone.
Yes, I thought that was. I took it as him telling me what happened while I was gone, and that's what happened while I was gone, and it was something that I needed to address.
Okay, well, let me help you a little bit, okay? Because I have a tendency to do the exact same thing you just did, okay? Mike, who is not here, he's off today, and he's doing some things with family. But the reality is that I think we're, based on what you've told me, is where you failed to not let him finish what he was saying. And if he did finish, then you should have probably said, if you didn't, now if you did, you did, but if you didn't say this, hey honey, I'm going to go ahead and then call this person because I need to go ahead and catch up with them. So that way he feels like, okay, the conversation's been closed. You know what I mean? There's closure to what he was saying, and not you just going, I do this all the time. So I'll go like this. Oh yeah? And I'll start dialing away without even thinking, okay, she's still talking to me. You know what I mean? So to them, it's like, it's rude. So I get that. Now, what I don't understand is he said he was hurt by it. Did he say that that's what bothered him, what I just explained, or no?
Not like that.
Okay.
It
like
was
like what?
you're just always interrupting me.
Okay. Well, are you?
Probably.
I mean, no, just be honest with yourself. I mean, are you? Or I mean, it's and it's okay if you are. It's just because we're trying to work out the solution here.
Right. No, probably. And
Okay.
I asked him, like I said, I said, I need a verbal cue. I want to be considerate of your feelings. And I'm asking you to tell me in the moment when I'm interrupting you, I need to finish my thought before you start anything else so that I can actively work on it when I know when it's offensive. I asked him to help me.
Okay, so you have asked him in the past in previous conversations when you've had disagreements and things of that nature to, hey, put the brakes on it. Hey, I wasn't finished yet. Can you let me finish, please? So,
yes,
so he doesn't go that route.
I've asked for verbal cues before.
Okay.
And I asked again for this time.
Okay. And how did that go over?
I mean, he didn't give a verbal acknowledgement that he wanted to do it like that. But I told him, I said, it's a problem that I have. I've been working on X number of things for the last however months, and I've made huge advancements. And the one thing, you can either still be stuck on the things that I'm not good at and be mad at me for them, or you can help me, but I can't change everything. I can't change everything about myself, and I can try, and I'm actively trying, and he knows that. But I
don't think you need to change yourself. It's just you need to change behaviors. So there's a difference, because when you tell somebody to change for you, that means you're just basically making them what you want them to be, versus because I mean, you got with the person in the first place. What was that? Somebody was throwing some music in at us.
That was my phone. Yeah, that was my phone.
I was like, I always turn my ringer off, and I was like, hey man, what? Has got something going on here in the studio? What's going on? But
that was a family push through.
Yeah, so I think that you don't change yourself, change your behavior. And with people with ADHD, and attention issues and things like that, it is really hard to change that behavior, because it is something that's been instilled with you, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, and things like that, and you've lived with your whole life. So I think if you're the spouse or the mate of somebody that has that condition, then you have to listen, and that kind of goes with what I think. I'm going to throw my glasses on and read something here because I have 7 pointers here that I wrote down, and it's the same goes with men. So this goes both ways. Okay, so number 1, give her space if she asks for it. Okay, so if you're in an argument, right, and she's like, I don't want to talk about it right now, and that other person says, either the guy or girl says, I don't want to talk about it right now, it's okay to say, okay, you let me know when you're ready to talk. I'm here for you. That's it. You don't say another word. You know what I mean? You don't go, well, I really want to finish this conversation, or hey, I really want to talk about this. So that's number 1. 2, look at things from the other person's perspective. And that's the hardest thing to do, especially with somebody with an ADHD issue. I mean, I have like a mild, I'm sure if I was tested, I would probably have a mild case of that because with this show, I have learned to stop interrupting people. I'm still doing it from time to time, but it's teaching me how to do that. So you have to look at things from the other person's perspective. And a lot of people fail to do that because they're thinking me all the time. And it's not about you. It's about us. And here's number 3. Be fucking sincere in your argument and in your discussion. If you're not fucking sincere, then you just ruin the whole fucking thing, in my opinion. So that's number 3, right? So let me get through the 7, then we'll talk about them. 4, let her vent. And you know what, guys? And this is the number 1 thing that we don't do, is I know I don't, and I've learned this. I'm slowly still learning it. Shut the fuck up and listen. Just shut the fuck up and listen. If she's venting, and it leads me into number 6. I'm going to skip 5, okay, because I actually should have flipped these. Don't give advice if she didn't ask for it. I don't know how many people make that mistake, whether it's guy or girl. They start throwing in their advice when you never asked for it. I didn't ask for your advice. I just asked for you to listen. And that's why I'm saying 4 and 6 kind of go hand in hand. I kind of had them out of order. And then of course I'll say that's number 5. So number 6, show her with actions. So take action. Your actions speak volumes. Words are words. Actions are actions. And then 7, and this is the most important one, guys, especially if the discussion or the disagreement's happening late in the evening hour. Don't go to sleep mad, and don't leave the house mad, because if you're not guaranteed to wake up the next morning, and you don't know what's going to happen if you take off in your car and you get in an accident and you die, and how that other person's going to have to live with themselves knowing that the last thing that you had was an argument. So try to, if you can't bury the hatchet, say, hey, let's revisit this morning. I love you, and go to sleep. Because, I mean, staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning arguing doesn't solve anything. You're already tired. Everybody's already exhausted. They're mentally and physically exhausted. So thinking you're going to have a clear, precise conversation in the wee hours of the evening and into the morning time is absolutely fucking asinine, in my opinion. So you're better just to shut it down and say, let's revisit this tomorrow. And if we have to go to work, let's not stew on it. Let's love each other and talk about it when we get home. It's easier said than done. I know some guys are like, bullshit, and girls are like, bullshit, that are listening to the show. Yeah, because you want to get that shit off your chest, but you're going to have to teach yourself to change your behavior. It's as simple as that. It's behavior changes, not changing yourself. Remember that. So, I mean, we can discuss these if you'd like real quick. What I talked about.
I think that I think that I'm trying to distract her, but it's not working.
Yeah.
I think those are very good points. I think to add to that list, if you are in an argument or communication discussion with someone who has ADHD, I would add to that, be direct. Think in bullet points, and short, concise bullet points. Being lengthy or trying to sugarcoat things is only going to make everything worse. You need to get to the point, and you need to try to keep things where they don't go off into tangents or anything like that. And be patient and realize that symptoms are not character flaws.
No.
Most likely, most of the time, they are not, that person is not trying to be argumentative. If they ask a question, a lot of the times they're quite literal questions. They really want to know the answer. Don't, if there's an argument that comes up over text, stop and call if it needs to be done right then. These are very, very specific things that you should do.
You make a valid point. Arguing over text, I swear, it's the worst case scenario for any relationship, because everything that you write is about that person's interpretation of what you're writing. So it can be missing. You could be like, hey, ha ha ha, fuck you, ha ha ha, like a laugh, but they're really thinking you're saying, fuck you, asshole. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I hate text for communication. I hate texting people for anything, whether it's business, personal, whatever. I don't like it unless it's short, direct answers of a question. You know what I mean? But if it's a discussion, I'm always like, hey, let's pick up the phone, let's talk. You know what I mean? Because I've had too many clients and I've had too many people in personal life say, man, why are you being an asshole? And I'm like, totally not being an asshole. So, before we get out of here, I'll say one last thing, and that is, guys, and I'm gonna talk about men in general on this. Okay, there's a fine line between being masculine and being an asshole. Okay, and hear me out on this. There's a fine line between being masculine in your relationship and being an asshole. Now, I always like to throw in the crack in the joke goes, it doesn't really matter because women never listen to you anyway. But I won't go that route. So the reality is you're going to have to find that women appreciate masculinity, but they don't like asshole masculinity. So you have to find that fine thread that you don't kind of pop over it, So, it's an adventure, relationships. And like I said earlier, if you take those 7 things that I said to heart, and if you need me to write them out, I have no problem writing them out and putting them on an Instagram post later. But that's what I truly feel will help you in these situations with communication, especially with somebody like in Shae's case with an ADHD. My wife has a little bit of that herself. And she's also super independent, and she was an independent woman who raised 2 girls. She was a single mom for 20 some odd years. So she had to play both father and mother. You know what I mean? So she has that masculinity in her because she had to be dad, if that makes sense. So you may have those same situations in life where you may have a very strong independent woman that had to be masculine, you know what I mean, for most of her life and be feminine. You know what I mean? So it's hard for her to give up the masculinity to the man. So that's where the communication that we've been talking about today, that communicating with your woman, and having that open book and listen, shut the fuck up and listen when she's talking, and just really be sincere and listen. I can't stress that enough.
It is. It's very hard. It's very hard when you were the only one. And, like everything came down to you. If you stopped, everything fell. And to give that trust and to trust that somebody's going to be there to take care of you, that's actually a real thing that happens. Like, what? That stuff, to try to ease into that, to even try to ease into that is very hard. So when it comes to these situations where you're trying to communicate and you're really trying to grow in that area of communication and of vulnerability and being a team and having a real partnership, and what you are, and even if it was my fault and I didn't realize that at the time, but I want to know that I can say, this is how I feel. And then I want to be able to get back in return. Okay, and this is how I feel, and maybe next time do it like this, or just even the understanding that I didn't get it, but I didn't do it on purpose, right? And I'm
Right.
trying. That stuff is huge. It's huge. Just the idea that somebody will listen long enough to you talking to get out whatever the hell it is you need to say, and let you say it or think through it long enough to figure out why you did it wrong, or not even wrong, but why the communication went bad, why, and then rebound from it quickly. It doesn't have to be worth days of awkwardness or this or that or the other. Just the understanding that somebody isn't trying always. Sometimes people are, but not always. People aren't always trying to cause rifts or whatever. And if someone has a genuine interest in making it better and learning how, pay attention to that. And don't make it like, try to make it as smooth as you can so that they are encouraged to keep doing that, because it's very easy to discourage someone from the growth process they're on by giving too much negative feedback or picking too hard at a situation when it arises. That's my
and it goes back to what I was saying, and I'm gonna end it on these two notes. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, if they don't ask for advice, don't give it. Just listen. It's as simple as that. The second thing is I wanted to reiterate something that you said just a couple of minutes ago, and that is trust is earned, not given. Some people believe that. Now, I have a tendency to give trust, and then you earn it even more so. So I'll give you that trust until you give me a reason not to. That's how I live. Now, my wife is completely the opposite. She doesn't give trust. You earn it from her. And that's okay too. Either way, if it works for that individual, it's fine. I'm just saying that her doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? I don't want to make you have to earn anything. It's like, I'll give you that trust until you violate it. And then once it's violated, you'll never get it back. That's just the way I am. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap up the show today. Shae, thank you so much for coming on and discussing some personal issues, and even talking about your ADHD. I know that's something we can talk about even later on another episode, and just dive into that topic. Guys, don't forget to head over to thedailybm.com, where you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, TikTok. You can also go head over to YouTube and over to Rumble and like and subscribe over there. Don't forget to head over to masondangersco.com, where you can get 20% off on all items on your cart. They got some really cool product lines that have come out. You have to try them. I specifically love the one, but I'm going to do a review on it next week for Man Cave Monday. And if you just use the promo code DailyBM, you'll get that 20% off. Shae, quickly, any last words before we get out of here?
No, I just be kind to each other and listen. Try to listen when somebody's talking to you. Give them the benefit of that being the most important thing you've heard all day.
Fantastic. And with that, guys, we will see you on the flip side.
Peace.
Deuces.